Namaste and welcome viewers to our podcast called The Amazing Vedas. I hope you're liking what we do so far. And today we're going to carry on our discussion on Soma, on Bliss. But I just wanted to say, if you remember our last episode, that all the Vedic deities, though each one of them has a personality and a unique set of characteristics, as well as hymns or mantras to invoke them, they're all deeply interrelated. So Dr. Singh has put out a really fascinating, X tweet, which I'm going to invite him to read, and it refers to the verses in the Rig Veda which show the interconnectedness between some of the deities we've been talking about. So over to you, Dr. Singh. Would you like to please read
Yes.
out that tweet?
When we look at the second, third, and fourth suktas in the Rig Veda, we see a transition is in how Indra is invoked. In Rig Veda 1.2.4 to 1.2.6, he's invoked and invited to drink Soma, but only together with Vayu. In Rig Veda 1.3.4 to 1.3.6, he's invited independently, but only after the Ashwins and before Vishvedeva. And in Rig Veda 1.4, Indra is all his own and gains in independence, power, and glory. Why so? If Indra is our luminous mind or later the self, his manifestation too will happen in stages. First, together with Vayu or Prana, then after the intense exhibition of force by Ashwins, Indra is on his own. And after the revelation of Saraswati, Indra is lauded as the great lord of devas in the fourth suktam, the fighter who will free us of Vritra. Quite a remarkable development in thought and expression.
So I think this is so profound, it bears reading several times because it shows that the gods are also evolving and growing. And it's really a model for us human beings. We are mortals, to all appearances, and yet the Vedas say, Amritasya putraha, we are children of immortality. And just as the gods wax and wane, the moon waxes and wanes, human beings also expand in power. And sometimes, of course, as we age, our powers also decline. Even the powers of Sri Krishna declined, there's a different story about that, about how he passes on. But the point being that we are much closer, or rather, the gods are much closer to us than we really think. So let me sort of just sort of push back a little bit. We've seen how Indra can be all by himself. Then we've also seen that he has to wait till the Vayus are with him, or Vishvedevas or the Ashwinis. And we've also seen in our earlier episode how Soma, actually, and Indra are somehow deeply interconnected. They're in fact, we've even seen Agni, the fiery deity, and Soma, the cooling one, are also interconnected. They also, both of them lead to bliss. So I'm going to be a little naughty, but are we going to say that Indra is drinking himself, a part of himself?
And why not? Aren't we doing that all the time? We consume ourselves. How many times have you sat down and said, "What a great gift to humanity I am"? Have you not done that? I mean, since sliced bread. So yes, but the interconnectedness, when you are deeply interconnected with someone, if you deeply love someone, what happens? You start sharing an identity. I mean, the husband starts looking like his wife, the wife starts looking like her husband. We share, we give and take much more than we realize, and not just on an external cognitive level or a verbal level. There's a non-verbal communication going on, there's a non-verbal sharing going on, classically seen in husband and wife. Now, the relationship
I
between the
want to interrupt you for
yes,
just 1 second. There was a
yes,
cartoon, apparently. They say you also start looking like your dog,
yes, that's correct.
especially if you're living alone, and the
That's right.
dog starts looking like you.
That's right, because you're sharing the vital energy. Prana is goes back and forth. Yeah, so and prana is what makes us look like who we are. Vaya vaya ahi darshate me. Vaya that makes us look beautiful. So anyway, coming back to the relationship between the human and the divine. The beautiful thing in the Veda is it's not as separate as you have pointed out earlier. In fact, the divine is quite close to us. In fact, so close that the divine may be closer to us than this so called projection of who we are. And as they say, Upanishad says it's closer than our eye. And it is actually what is seeing through the eye that is the divine within us. So we are this is an artifact that there is some divine outside and this is me. Well, no, divine is right here and divine is saying this is me. That is also a game of the divine. And so if we start realizing that our identity is not that clear cut and we see holes through it until we realize it's like a sponge, things are coming through. And one beautiful thing in the Veda is it's there are riks that say we give birth to the Veda, to the Deva. We give birth to the Deva means we make them manifest. We bring them into manifestation through our own transformation. We bring them to manifestation, and then they say, "We gave you birth. Now we gave you birth. Now please give us your gifts." It's really very joyous. It is not a hierarchical relationship. It is almost like a camaraderie, a very almost like
Yes.
friends sharing together. Invite, I have Soma, have a drink, come on, I have some beer with me. Come on, share some beer with me. And so all these great universal powers are brought into our being, into our consciousness, because we have found the secret, and that secret is our own bliss. And where does the bliss come from? That bliss comes from the purification that happens through our own inner fire. If we learn how to make this inner fire into a beautiful sacrifice, into a beautiful yajna, we turn ourselves into something beautiful, then guess what? We have access to the whole universe. That is the beautiful thing. We have access to the highest powers of God. We have access to the widest ranges, and they come and become an intimate part of who we are. They're not coming and housed within our subtle bodies as, okay, you are sitting here, you're Indra. They become us. That is our power. So to us, when we say Soma, you're inviting Soma. And a beautiful thing about the Veda is there's a name given to the god, but the name is also a quality. There's a very great ambiguity in the Veda. The abstract quality becomes a noun as a proper noun. And and that proper noun becomes a very specialized entity whom we identify, we personalize, we specialize, and then that becomes impersonal and universal. The Veda allows this ambiguity. So when you are saying, I have Soma arranged for you, is it Soma the drink? Is it Soma the abstract, the bliss? Or is it Soma the Deva itself that I have invoked? The Veda doesn't tell us. And that is the genius of how multiple layers of meanings are created for us. And it's a remarkable kaleidoscope, if you may, if one may say.
Absolutely. In fact, I wanted to, bring that point, which is that the very indeterminacy, the very refusal to yield to a fixed meaning, a fixed, signification of any of these deities is one of the most, should I say, brilliant, the most, uplifting, the most encouraging aspects of the Veda. That's
Yeah.
what, liberates me most, because by the time you come to the Puranas, it's just a little bit like the Greek gods, you see, who interfere, who are all, I mean, and
Yeah.
it is sort of almost trivializing the potential of Godhead and taking sides. And you see that. You see that in Mahabharata, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and they all have their own. favorite deities. And you can actually see the progression. And in the earlier, when you go to the earlier parts of the Mahabharata, for example, the Adi Parva, the gods are still a little remote. So when Shantanu, is fighting to help the gods, or if Shakuntala's father, Shakuntala's husband Dushyanta goes and fights with the gods and sees his son Bharat, from which we get Bharat, partly from that, but also from the Bharatas, who are the, Purohits, ancient fire sacrificing of, offerers, and we are all supposed to have descended from that. But the point being that the camaraderie, I was bringing that aspect to the front. See, there is a fellowship of the good, the fellowship of light, versus these forces of darkness. Now, we'll talk some more about it, but where do these other forces come from? The Vritras, the Panis, the obstructors. Who are they? I mean, do they all also come somehow from that same original source? Of course, we know that Aditi is the mother of the gods, and Diti is the mother of the asuras. So what I'm simply saying is that the Vedas are encouraging us not only to realize our own potential, but to join the lists, to join the fight, to join this eternal struggle between good and evil. And then the other thing that you said, I think that was really, really important, is that the gods are born in us. As our consciousness begins to recognize the existence of the latency becoming the potency, if we may use that phrase, then we are giving birth to these gods, as it were. And literally speaking, even in modern Hinduism, the image, the icon, the statue, whatever it is, actually is infused with life by us, by the
Yes,
devotees.
that's right.
So we birth the gods, and then the gods once again enter into our world. And we want to go back to Sri Aurobindo a bit and think about what he was saying, the evolution of the human beings. We are very fortunate because it's human birth, it's this human body, with all its flaws and pains and aches. It is this body which gives us this potential to evolve. So, Dr. Singh, your concluding remarks, and I want to give a teaser to our viewers. Our next episode is going to be about this deity that you mentioned here very briefly, Saraswati, the ever flowing one. I mean, the one who flows, the one whose flow is luminous, and always so, should I say, so much of surfeit. It's also, indicative of bliss and knowledge. So we will come back to this great goddess called Saraswati in our next episode. But for now, over to you, Dr. Singh, for your concluding remarks.
It's a beautiful, structured progression of devas that we see in the Vedas, almost a programmatic. If you really study it, it's a programmatic. You see, you just look at Indra. What you have to do is isolate one thread and just follow that thread, and you'll see a structure behind it. And that's the genius. Indra kind of coming mixed in with life force, then freeing up, but in a succession, and then in the glory of our genius, the mind that is enlightened, the mind that is awake, close to the Atman, and really you see, if you see that these threads, and throughout the Veda you will see these musical movements happening. Suddenly one deva comes up and then suddenly dissipates into another deva, almost like a musical note. It's a beautiful symphony, perhaps our first and one of the most beautiful symphonies we have ever seen.
Thank you. And I must say, it is still a living symphony. The music is
Yes.
very much with us. The music of the spheres, as our Renaissance and medievalists said in the West, that music we can still hear with our subtle ear. And thank you for bringing out so beautifully this interrelationship between these deities of the Vedas, because I find that, the world of the Veda opens us up to light, to bliss, and to knowledge. And it is to knowledge that we're going to head next. So thank you all for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And also, please follow us on X. And please look at Dr. Singh's amazing tweets on the Amazing Vedas. Thank you and namaste.